the Muwekmas are different from any other cultural race. For example, we have a history of 10,000 years old. Our holy lands we still reside on. Our people in that call themselves the Muwekmas, the East Bay families, have never ever left their lands. They have made it a way of life to migrate within their own Aboriginal lands. And the difference is they didn't migrate into California or into the Bay Area. They have always been here for generation after generation.
I can remember being in school and saying, oh no, all the Ohlones are dead. There is no such thing. And I hope to God that if I ever have children, that my kid doesn't sit in class and be told by an educated person that they don't exist.
Freeway construction at the junction of Highways 101 and 85 in San Jose, California, has led to the location of an Ohlone Indian burial ground over 2,000 years old. In the 1920s, the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay region had been declared extinct for all practical purposes by prominent anthropologist Alfred Kroeber. They no longer existed as an Aboriginal people. Yet living members of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe now walk behind the bulldozers monitoring their progress so they can mark the grave sites before the earth movers destroy them.
Whenever there is work going on anywhere in the state of California, and that which may run into some prehistoric burials, that is, burials of the indigenous peoples, there's a requirement that those burials be treated archaeologically, respectfully, and according to the needs of the Native Americans that are the descendants of these people. Before they had monitors, even though we had the law that says if you came across a burial that you had to stop and inform certain people, the fact is that it's expensive. And so in many cases, construction people or contractors, whatever, would avoid, either just ignore the fact that they came across a burial.
Despite past negligence by freeway contractors, the Muwekma Ohlone have worked out a cooperative relationship with these highway construction crews.
The operators that use the scrapers and the graders are very sensitive. They're looking out along with us, looking for the burials and the mortars and pestles and any other objects of Indian. We have already described to them what to look for, and they are looking out for it. They go real slow. We can follow them. We stake it. They don't mind going around us when we're digging out there, so everything's pretty cool.
We're walking behind the tractors, monitoring and looking for bones, and when we spot bones, we call our archaeologist, the one that works with us, and she comes and identifies the bones, whether it's Indian bone or animal bone.
The Muwekma Ohlone participating in the excavation of their ancestors' remains are one of the first Indian tribes to act as their own archaeologists. In the process, they are discovering who they were and who they are today. They're laying claim to their heritage, yet they're also doing much more, for they are in the process of seeking federal reinstatement and recognition that they still exist as a tribe, that the Ohlone did not vanish with the bones they have uncovered. Excavation of their ancestral remains elicits a broad range of reaction from members of the Muwekma tribe.
I have mixed emotions here about this. I don't like having to do this, but it has to be done because they've been disturbed already. I hope that when we put them back in the ground in this area, that they will be put back and never, never again disturbed.
When we have uncovered the animal remains, it's neat to know that back in that culture also that the animal played an important part, just as animal still plays an important part. Maybe not like some people have birds, cats, dogs. These people had what? Otters. The deer that we found, right. The dog, the wolf. And it's just, they still paid respect to the animals.
Wondrous thing was when they found the one burial with the beads and the pendant.
Oh, this
remember, that was really something to see. And the teeth on these people, they have no cavities. Beautiful teeth.
I mean, if we could trade our teeth in for those teeth,
beautiful teeth.
We'd probably eat more than we already eat now.
To me, it's been an honor at my age to be doing this. I have seen a lot of corpus in my young days when I was in the service would come and do this. I never dreamed that one day I'd be doing this to another human being, discovering all this bones. So, I don't know. I feel thrilled, I don't know, real full of joy doing it. I don't fear nothing on this, what I'm doing. Like I talk to him, if I disturb one of the little bones, I tell him I'm sorry, because that's the best I can do.
The Muwekma Ohlone have hired 2 archaeologists, Laura Jones and Alan Leventhal, to help them learn the excavation process and interpret what they have found.
It's about, I'd say, 3.5 feet below the burials. 3.5 to 4 feet below the burials. But you remember that other burn feature we had, there was baked clay, 1.5 foot, 2 feet thick.
Right.
And here we just have this really thin lens of it.
Anthropology students and faculty from San Jose State University, located nearby, have been invited by the tribe to visit the site.
What can you see up there in the corner? Over there.
And the scapula, you mean?
The right scapula, right? A little bit of the clavicle. Right. And what do we have over here?
Well, the left arm was just raised up, like almost like trying to lift up.
Right. Well, here's the left arm.
Mm-hmm.
What's this over here?
Well, the sternum, you mean, or the rib cage in the front?
Well, there's the radius over here. From what? Which side? The other side, yes. Yeah, it has to be.
No, this is left arm. This.
Over here, you have the radius.
The right arm coming down.
This is the right humerus and the right arm, right.
As the Muwekma Ohlone have become involved in the excavation process, a new relationship has developed between themselves and the anthropologists who once controlled access to their heritage. Anthropologists at one time helped play a significant role in declaring the Muwekma Ohlone extinct because the Ohlones they encountered were no longer culturally pure, but rather had been transformed by the impact of the missions. They also intermarried and lived in an urban environment.
One of the major problems in the anthropological discipline, something that is now finally becoming a thing of the past, is this notion of pristine, untouched, or isolated tribal peoples. Particularly with respect to Native Americans, this has been a problem. Anthropologists search for the pristine, and anything that they find that doesn't fit into their fiction into their kind of fairy tale of what pristine, untouched, isolated peoples should be is disregarded, or even worse, made into a justification for declaring a tribal people extinct. This is what happened to the Muwekma and to the Ohlone people and to other Central Californian and other Pacific coastal peoples, is that by the time anthropologists got to them, they no longer could provide the information that anthropologists wanted. And for that reason, peoples like the Muwekma were declared extinct, were marginalized in anthropology, and unfortunately, this played a part in their political marginalization.
Les Field, one of several anthropological consultants to the Muwekma Ohlone, feels the implications of being declared extinct and therefore unrecognized means the Muwekma Ohlone are denied federal support in terms of land and other economic resources which other tribes receive.
The political implications of being declared extinct have to do with the fact that the federal government never wanted to ratify any of the treaties that it was supposed to sign, those treaties allocating a certain portion, something like 8.5 million acres of the state, to Native American peoples. The federal government was unwilling to do this under pressure from the most powerful political and economic elites in the state around the time of statehood and during the latter half of the 19th century. So when you have anthropologists come in at the end of the 19th century saying, this tribe is extinct, this tribe is extinct, this tribe is extinct, it provides an academic and professional kind of polished justification for denying people political and economic rights.
The tribe was terminated by Superintendent L.A. Dorrington, an employee of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, in 1927. However, the families were enrolled a few years later under the California Jurisdictional Act of 1928 as Costanoan Indians by the same bureau that terminated them. Landless and marginalized by the BIA, the families were still able to maintain ties with each other, which enabled them to survive as an identifiable group until today. Rosemary Cambra, tribal chair of the Muwekma Ohlone, feels that working to preserve the burial sites has enhanced the tribe's sense of identity and community.
Many of us just recently have begun to acknowledge and to befriend one another as second cousins, third cousins, and partially because of the burial issue. We all have a sense of belonging, being, and wanting to unite as families, and we all come from different lineages. So in many respects, if it wasn't for the people of the past, we would not be communicating today as living people.
Once the remains are uncovered, the Ohlone number the site. Then the remains are carefully identified and put into bags, where they will stay until the construction project is finished and they can be reburied. There is also the possibility for further analysis of the remains in an archaeology lab at San Jose State University. This issue leads to a series of meetings as members of the Muwekma tribe and non-tribal Native Americans gather to debate and decide what will happen to the bones of their ancestors. Some non-tribal members do not want any further analysis of their ancestors' remains.
To allow it to go past the excavation and the reburial process, to me, seems like exploitation on my end. I don't know if it's being narrow-minded or not, but I really don't feel that any extended analysis or any more, how would I say, trying to find out the mysteries of life. We all know that people were tortured at one time or another. We all know that we died. We all know that we're going to die ourselves. I don't know whether that's going to help me understand what happened to my people.
Other members of the tribe feel further analysis is a logical extension of the excavation process.
when you start to actually work, there's some type of communication going on with you and that individual that you are excavating, because you're doing it as just as delicately and with as much respect as you can. And when you can, and when you go down from 1 and you're already hitting almost 100, I mean, there are so many things that are going in your mind, because we all found something different, and it was like, well, come and see, you know, we all shared. And because of that sharing, it brought me to this level today to say, yes, I do want analysis, because I want to know, when I was working, well, why was that like that? Or why was this way? Or, you know, the question started to evolve. And now I sit here and I say, yes, now I can go into the lab. I'm being allowed, okay, well, let's go in there and let's work. And now I see a whole new pattern again of, well, the questions will come as I start to work again, just like they did when you first started with the removals.
Ultimately, the Muwekma Ohlone, supported by representatives from neighboring tribes, voted to approve further analysis at San Jose State University. Yet the excavation process did more than teach the Ohlone about their own heritage. It brought them in contact with various state agencies who have had to approve their participation at each stage along the way. By acknowledging that the Muwekma Ohlone are capable of doing their own archaeology, these agencies have indirectly legitimated the existence of the Ohlone as an Indian people.
The implications of Muwekma Ohlone people, the 4 generations of Muwekma Ohlone people who worked at the Highway 101 85 project, are a kind of step-by-step reversal of the whole process of disenfranchisement that we're studying right now. That disenfranchisement ended up with the extinction sentence. When Muwekma Ohlone people go to the archaeological excavation sites and do the excavation and do the interpretation, they are removing that first major roadblock, i.e. they're laying claim to their past. They're saying, here we are, in the flesh, laying claim to our past by doing the excavation. By doing that, in cooperation and collaboration with public agencies like the Department of Transportation, State of California, the county, the city, they establish the professional relationships that make that laying claim to the past a highly politicized and political act. In other words, they are saying, we're here, we know about our past, we're finding out about our past, and we're doing so as a part of a political community. By doing that, they lay the foundation for federal acknowledgement, because they establish their history, and they do so in a publicly acknowledged context.
In addition to their contact at the excavation site with Caltrans, the State Department of Transportation, the Muwekma Ohlone also became involved with the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, because the excavation site took place within their jurisdiction and tax dollars were used for the analysis process.
At a minimum, what our obligation was to respect the history, culture, and religion of Native Americans who are citizens of our county. And the obvious way to do that was to bring in Native Americans in our county into the process in a way that wasn't just window dressing, but real, that called the shots, that was important. And with that was a requirement for respect of tradition and of individuals. So we organized, and it was a partnership between the county and local family. The monitoring that was important, and the ability to take control of the scene so that the religious rights could be respected and not imposed or interfered with by outsiders, because we'd run into a situation where archaeologists were trying to say, you know, what should happen, and it's really none of their business. It's, you know, whose relatives are they? Not mine, not the archaeologists. It's just like, I think I remember one board meeting saying, you know, would we allow this if it were, you know, a Catholic cemetery? Of course not.
The best method that's been developed by skeletal experts in the last 100 years is this piece of the body right here, and there's one on each side, and it goes through these gradual changes that have been systematized to give us an indication of how old people are. In fact,
Involvement of the Muwekma Ohlone in analysis of the remains of their ancestors helped change their relationship with San Jose State University.
I feel very comfortable being at the university because I know that it's a partnership now. And this partnership is like you, the scholar that has the knowledge, and then like just us being the Native American, and just knowing that if I've got questions, I can ask you, you know, with as far as like, why is this bone like this, or why is this like this? And then for my part is like when we did the excavating, and excavations was that, God, you know, what kind of life did this person have, you know, when you're sitting there thinking and you're looking out, you know, and now you can come back and say, well, you know, how old was this person? What kind of diseases were there? And they will be answered because they're right here in front of us now.
No, and I'd like to respond really positively, you know, to that notion of partnership, because maybe one reason that for the last 10 or 15 years we've been building the bridges, but not as successfully as we have in the last year and a half or so, is that there was an unequal, in a sense, distribution of power, an unequal sense of relationship. As the university reached out to the Indian community, it was like the university saying, well, you people need us and here we are. But what actually happened here was the Indian community came to us as an equal and said, we need to work together. And yes, we may need you, but the university needs us too. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is why it's a partnership, because partnerships aren't 80% one side and 20% the other. Partnerships are 50-50. And I really have a very strong sense of that. And I think when you walk in here, you feel that way too. Yeah. You're not second-class citizens on this campus. As Ohlone family members have worked at the university, they have come to understand that archaeologists and physical anthropologists aren't just grave robbers, that while our perspectives are not always 100% in agreement with, or maybe a better way to say it, 100% parallel to those of the descendants themselves, is that many of our interests are reinforcing to the kinds of things they want to know, and many of the things they want to know are collaborative and compatible with the kinds of scientific studies that we at San Jose State are pursuing. So the interaction, particularly the interaction once the excavations have been completed on this project, where the family members have been here working on the archaeological materials, watching us, and in some cases helping with the analysis of the human skeletal material as well, has helped shatter some of the stereotypes.
Well, in a hill we are ho. 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 Well, in a hill we are ho.
As the Muwekma Ohlone gain increasing recognition from various governmental bodies and agencies, as well as the general public, they help build a case for their federal reinstatement and acknowledgement. Yet their efforts to seek acknowledgement also face opposition from already recognized tribes who see the Ohlone's existence as a threat to whatever limited funds are now available to Indian peoples.
The misperception that the pie is shrinking and that everyone should watch their own interest, and that the interest of one tribe or the interest of federally recognized tribes are not the same as the interest of unacknowledged and terminated tribes. Personally, I feel that that's wrong and that's an error. I really think that the interest of California Indian tribes lies in gaining the most political power that they can gain. And the more California Indian tribal governments there are, the more the power is increased, because each California Indian tribal government brings with it tribal resources, human resources, cultural resources, and all sorts of power and resources that should enrich the California Indian tribal community. It shouldn't take from it, it should enrich it.
Lena Aoki, legislative aide to Senator Inoue of Hawaii, feels all California tribes will gain more political leverage in Washington by seeing each other as allies rather than competitors.
To the extent that federally recognized tribes are located in a limited number of congressional districts, that limits their effectiveness, so to speak, of trying to push their issues forward in Congress. So the more congressional districts in California that have federally recognized tribes as constituents, the more powerful the voice of California Indian tribal governments can be.
In a step in that direction, an intertribal recognition ceremony honors the Muwekma Ohlone.
Somebody who has contributed a lot and I don't believe has ever gotten the recognition that she has deserved is a woman that I have the honor of introducing, and that's Rosemary Canberra. Rosemary is a member of the Muwekma Ohlone's tribe. She has been active in San Jose much longer than most of us who are here today. She has worked very, very closely with the city and the county, has taught us all a lot, not the least of which has been to be more sensitive in how we treat those people who came before us. She has worked closely with the agency and the city on seeing that people's whose remains had to be relocated were done so in a very sensitive, proper way. And she has become a friend of mine, a woman that I have admired for a long, long time. And I believe we're real lucky, Rosemary, that you're a member of our community, and we are a member of your community. You came a long time before we did, 10,000 years ago. So it's my honor and privilege to get to introduce to all of you Rosemary Canberra, and thank her for her efforts.
Thank you, Mayor. As I've been introduced, Rosemary Canberra, the chairwoman of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, indigenous to this area. Believe it or not, it has taken 10,000 years to come to this very day of being acknowledged. And for me, it's a very important step, as well as for the mayor and for many other politicians. It is a time now to bridge all families, all cultures, and all nations. If we don't do it here, we may look at another South Africa. So this is the beginning. And we have a lot to continue to work on, but most of all, for the young children, for you that are present today from the schools, we want you to understand and to believe that we want to be your partner. Our children want to dance with you, not away from you, but with you.
2 years after excavation of the remains of the Muwekma Ohlone ancestors, they are reburied under a nearby freeway. Meanwhile, living members of the tribe continue to seek official recognition that they still exist as a people.